there's you a nice fancy chopper. I don't know if that's like a new one or what. It's well taken care of anyway. And then old Pete. With Moss trailers. That was seemed like to be pretty good trailers. I think if I were to have a truck, I would get one of those just because how handy they are. You can haul just whatever you want in them. But yeah, I'm going to get started. Got my lunchbox. That's how I keep my lunchbox secure. And I put my phone and random stuff down in my hoodie so it's not just flopping around the floor. But yeah, I also keep my fire extinguisher strapped on. And yeah, you really wouldn't think you need a fire extinguisher on a swather, but talking to the guy who actually owned this machine before me, and he said, you know, the one thing you really got to watch out for is, like with the mergers, is the hay building up on the inside of it, or the hay building up on those, in the headers, where the belts are. So, you know, every once in a while, you know, hay will build up in there, and if you're not paying attention, it can catch on fire. So you want to keep a fire extinguisher with you. So I've got mine. But anyway, and that's just the one I got from my round baler. They're pretty handy. Just fill them up with water. So I use it for all sorts of stuff. But yeah, we're gonna go see what all we can do. Alright, everybody. Back on a job we're getting ready to start today. Today's really kind of the third day of real commercial cutting. Not really count my neighbors as first day, but yeah, this circle's actually bigger than what I thought. They just didn't bother telling me, and I almost just didn't even come do this because the guy who has it, he doesn't know how much there is, and told me to call one of his helpers, and his helper wouldn't answer the phone for a couple hours. So yeah, it's just kind of one of those deals. And yesterday was probably yesterday was a pretty bad day for me. I'm not saying this lightly, but yesterday was really taxing on me even wanting to do this. It was just a shitty day. A lot of it is stress, you know, financial stress, and then you got some personal issues, you know, family issues you're stressed out about, and I think it all just kind of came to a boil yesterday, and then on top of that, I had a bunch of, you know, just mechanical bullshit happen, and so yeah, yesterday was a little tough. I was cutting half a field yesterday, and it was just as rough as it could be, and that gets kind of old. What I was gonna say, I went there and cut, and had some other stuff on my mind, and the bumps just finally drove me up the wall, and I kind of acted like a teenager and let my temper get the better of me, and I haven't done that in a really long time. Usually I got a real short temper anyway, and usually if I pop off, there'll just be a string of just really foul language come out of my mouth. But yesterday I guess I just had enough, and for whatever reason, I couldn't just handle myself. I took my hand and I hit right here as hard as I could. And I knew the minute I did it, I messed up, because I mean, I hit it hard enough, I bruised the inside of my hands. And I was just like, man, why? Why did you do that? There was no need to do that. You know, that's pretty ridiculous. And but it was a constant reminder for the rest of the day, because I hit my hand so hard that it sits down here, and right where that little loop is, sits right where I hit my hand, and it's still kind of tender today that, oh, it just, you know, acting like a dumb kid. I did, you know, dumb kid, you throw wrenches and crap like that, and well, I did that, and I have not done something that stupid in a long time. Well, there's a constant reminder now that was the dumb thing to do. So I don't think I'll be losing my temper that way, but and the day just progressively got worse. I finished that circle, and then I went to go load my swather, and I hadn't had any problems loading it before, and I could not get it to load. It wouldn't climb over those boards. I mean, just would not load at all. And oh, that was, so then, you know, I'm a long ways from home. It's not like somebody can just come help me. And I think that really kind of made it pretty bad. And I finally drove off in a hole and got it loaded, and where the ramps were pretty flat. Started to get on my way, and a chain hook came off one of my chains and blew a tire out on the trailer. So, and then, you know, the trailer didn't come with a spare, so then I had to take the swather off the trailer, pull all my boards off that were bolted down and chained down, wait for the guy to come, and we got the tire changed, went to load the swather wouldn't load on the trailer. It just would not climb over those boards, would not do it at all. And by this time I'm really upset, because I'm just super late for what I need to be doing. And so I call, you know, at this point I don't know, and then I drove the trailer down in a ditch, so my ramps were pretty much flat, and it still would not go on the trailer. And my back wheels almost came off the trailer like a couple of times, so I wasn't about to, you know, just tear up my swather. I called my dad and I was like, hey, I'm just gonna drive this to where I need to go, and you know, you're gonna have to come pick me up and take me back to my pickup so we get this figured out. I get all my stuff locked up in the pickup, because it's just on the side of the damn road. And I start down the road a little bit, and I look down, and my swather is in road gear. And I bet what happened was, when I finished cutting, I put it in road gear because I had to drive down the highway about a mile, and that's why it wouldn't load, because it didn't have the power, the low power to get up on the trailer. And so then I was like, well, I'll try it again. Got the swather up on the trailer. You know, it took me another 30 minutes to get chained down, and I got down and started going down the road. The guy who's supposed to meet me wouldn't answer his phone, just wouldn't answer it. Called his boss, and he called him, and apparently he's like, well, I'll call him and I'll get him to call you. Well, about an hour later, still hadn't called me, and And I kept trying to get a hold of him, so I called him. And I was like, hey, you know, I need to drop my equipment off because do all this. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, you're supposed to come down the road another 5 miles. You know, he didn't tell you where you're supposed to go. I was like, no. He said that you're going to tell me everything that I need to know. Well, of course, he was like, oh, okay, well, you come down the road and take a left. Gave me shitty instructions. Now, this is a half-mile pivot, by the way. So you're going to, if you've never seen one of those, this is a half-mile pivot. Then finally get to where we are, and the guy kind of meets me, and we go on this epic journey through the back roads to this pivot. I don't know how damn far we were from where we started out, but it was a ridiculous trip. We get over here, and right as we get to where we need to unload the swather, you know, the rain's been building and been building. Well, it just let loose. I don't know what the fuck that was, but then I had to unload the water, and just a huge downpour, massive downpour. Right as I'm getting ready to drive the swather off, and it's so slick that the swather turned a little bit, and I dropped my tire on the inside of the trailer, and I get the swather stuck. At this point, I flat just don't give a shit, and so I just you know, I got insurance. I just throttled it up all the way and just pushed my wheel forward and just cranked it over, and the tire actually popped back up onto the trailer, and I just drive it off the trailer. I was already having a bad day, and at this point I just could care less. So I did that. All the drops have been pulled, all this pivot looks like, but yeah, yesterday was a really taxing day. But well, and then to top that off, once I get the trailer unloaded or unhooked, I look up, and on my filler cap for my fuel tank on the pickup, the damn thing had come off. I don't know why, whether it worked itself off or I left it off. Had come off and was sitting on the bed of the pickup, so I had an open damn fuel tank throughout the entire rainstorm. I was fit to be tied. I was pretty upset by that point. So I just kind of had enough. I started to go home. The roads, I don't think I've ever been on a road that greasy before. It was just as slick as it could get. And I start to get out of here, and it took me, my pickup was almost sideways the entire 5 miles down that road. I was on the phone with my wife just explaining how shitty my day had been. And I was like, well, I'm either going to wreck this pickup or I'm going to get it out of here. She's like, oh my God, don't do that. Oh, it was something else. It was something else. Then I get about halfway home, and some Yahoo was on the dirt road, I guess wanting to go see if it had rained, in a little car, and they wouldn't even move over so I could get around them. So I just shoved that pickup down in the bar ditch, just hammered on it, and I was just driving down the rough ass bar ditch, just dirt. Finally, I didn't care if anything was falling off my truck. I was like, this is enough. Yeah, it's kind of the day I had yesterday. I don't know if I would have even showed up to cut hay today or not. The way I was feeling yesterday, and it was kind of 2 days of stress all put together. I accepted this job and told the guy I would do as much as I could before I had to go back and start cutting wheat and Dalhart for silage for the first guy I contracted with. And I knew I could get all this cut. I was pretty sure I could get it all cut, but I took the job of baling it, and the baling is where I'm going to make my money. But you know, the big problem is I've got to cut all this hay for this other guard for the silage, and then it really doesn't give me any time to bale the hay. So I haven't been able to figure out how I'm going to bale the hay and cut the silage all in the same week. And because I don't have any help, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, but we'll get it all worked out. We'll figure it out. And I gotta plant my crop. I'm gonna do that Saturday. Well, I've got my dad's gonna show up tomorrow, and I'm gonna teach him how to run this swather, and then that way he can run it Saturday while I'm planting my feed. But yeah, it's been kind of just one of those days. It got a lot of stuff on my mind, and it's just when you start mixing, you know, family issues and financial issues, and it gets kind of interesting. But I'm here doing what I said I'd do. I'm not going to quit on them. I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't do it because I don't want to. I can't tell AGCO, or I can't tell John Deere, or I can't tell my bank, hey, you know I said I'd do the work and pay for the equipment, but take a hike. No, I'm gonna do the work. But anyways, yeah, you guys probably all just laughing at me now, just like, oh my god. Get our pass cut around. So I got this swather all the way forward, and you know, I'm not in heavy hay, and it says I can cut 20 acres an hour. I don't know if that's true, but I think I could probably average 18 if it's not rough. I hope it's not rough, because I would really like to do that. I don't know how big this circle is, to be honest with you. You know, this is a half-mile pivot, so it's a full mile across here, and it fits. This pivot will fit on one section of land, and then you'll have your corners. So I guess the pivot, I imagine the pivot's probably a 500 acre pivot, and so you know, this might be 250 acres. I think there's about 500 acres here for me to cut, but I'm not sure, because that guy just showed me this one, and he didn't show me anything else, and the guy who owns it sure as hell doesn't know. So yeah, that's kind of what I know. But I don't know, even if it's just this here, you know, I don't know what this is gonna make. I don't think it's gonna make that much, to be quite honest with you. It's kind of thin. It's a lot thinner than I thought it'd be. But yeah, there's a big thin spot out there. That won't make anything. Oh shit. Oh, come on. And of course it's rough as fuck. Hopefully the whole thing's not like this. If the whole pivot's like this, I still may tell them to go fuck themselves. Because this, you know, I'm sorry, but sitting in this thing for 12 hours a day with it bouncing up and down, just jarring your insides, gets kind of old. And my air seat doesn't work. Like, it airs up, but I don't know, it just does not work with a shit. Anyway, thought you guys might want to see this pivot and what it looked like. Probably not too many where you guys are. They're back east anyway. Some of you guys are, I don't know where everybody is from that watches my channel, but kind of the guys that comment on my channel are all from the Midwest. So I think there's 2 New Mexicans who watch my channel. But yeah, I took some bailing video. I'll put it on. I guess you might see the bailing video before you see this one. I don't know. Just depends on how I edit it all together. But yeah. My friend who was helping me on that one pivot video, he worked on these in Arizona, and they'd send him out to straighten these big half-milers out, and all the other employees got little UTVs to drive up and down the pivots, and they didn't give him one, so he had to walk and run back and forth. And some of the newer pivots that have the nicer control boxes, they have a program called FieldNet, and what you can do is you take your cell phone, and it's just an app, and you can control each tower and its movement from your cell phone. That way you don't have to be at the pivot to safety it on and off, and I think it probably works pretty good. But the old ones that don't have it, you have to run all the way back to the pivot. It'd be a giant pain in the ass. Let's just put it like this: I would not want to do it. It would not be a profession I would like to have. But yeah. To be honest with you, this is a really shitty hay crop. And the guy, he called me and he's like, I need you to come cut all this hay, and I want it all laid down, like, you know, and I need you to bale it, but you're gonna have to bale it, pretty quick. That way it doesn't get rained on, because it's not, just the more it gets rained on, then it's just not really worth anything. No, I know that, but he wants me to come and lay it all down, and we've got chances for rain all weekend. So even if I get most of this stuff cut, it's gonna rain on it all. But he wants it all laid down, so that's what we're gonna do. And then, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of whatever. His deal. That is a really, really hard thing about custom hay. Now, I ran into the problem last year when you start doing custom hay. Oh, this side's rough. Then, if the hay gets rained on, then all of a sudden it's your fault. And so they'll be bitching at you and screaming at you, you need to come bale this hay, and the hay has to dry down. Like, that's, if the hay's not dry, I'm not going to go bale it because I don't want it to catch on fire. Because if it catches on fire, then you're just going to be bitching at, then I can actually become responsible for it. And so what they'll do is, you'll start having little showers, and they start screaming at you, well, you need to get this hay baled. You're taking too long. You need to bale this hay. Well, then they start pushing you to bale it before it's dry enough to bale again. And I understand, you don't want to put up hay, you don't want to just continually get rained on. But when you tell the custom guy, you need to bale this hay now, and the hay's wet, what's he to do? Oh, well, okay, I'll come bale it, but it's gonna, I don't want to be responsible for it burning. It's kind of a tough position to be in, because you don't want them to go tell everybody, oh, well, he's just a piece of shit, and he just let my hay get rained on, and he just would never show up, and I don't know what he was doing, but he'd never come and bale the hay. But they don't tell anybody that, oh yeah, well, the hay was it just had 3 inches of rain on it 2 days ago, and I was telling him to come bale it. So it's either let it dry out and bale it where it won't burn and get bitched at because you took long to get it baled, or you bale it and it's still wet and take the possibility of the hay molding or burning, and then you get a bad reputation for baling green hay or wet hay. So yeah, I don't know, it's one of those things. Just one of those things, I guess. Oh, look at the baby. Some good-looking calves out there. They ought to be ready to start shipping a lot of these calves pretty quick. The guy who owns all this hay, or in all these circles, there's a big farm here, and he owns all these circles. He has a feedlot in the area, and a lot of the people call him Crazy Uncle Bob, because he's an interesting guy. I think he only has like 2 white people that work for him, and he's got several farms and a feedlot. He has all Spanish people that work for him, and he's an interesting guy. A lot of people don't like him. I haven't had a problem with him yet. Hope that it stays that way. But yeah, he's just kind of an interesting character. There's a pheasant. I mowed me a pheasant 2 days ago. I was cutting lots of pheasants in that field, and one of them just didn't quite make it up out of the way and went burp. Pheasants and skunks. Skunks are the worst though. They never get out of the way, and they always spray right as they go through the machine. So then you have to sit there and smell them all day if they get the machine and not just the area around it. But alrighty, well, I'll talk to you later.